Welcome to AERO 3630, Introduction to Air Traffic Control, Presentation 13 on Textbook Section 13 concerning aircraft emergencies. In this presentation, we'll go over terms and definitions, minimum and other required information during aircraft emergencies, the roles and responsibilities of air traffic controllers, and different types of aircraft emergencies. It's an unfortunate part of their traffic controller's job, but sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes airplanes fail mechanically. However, most accidents and most emergencies are created by poor aeronautical decision-making by the humans in the aircraft. Aircraft emergencies occur daily around the country. An air traffic controller can encounter an aircraft in distress at any time. And there have been numerous instances where an air traffic controller with a calm voice on the frequency prevents a panic-stricken pilot from becoming a statistic. An air traffic controller who remains calm during an aircraft emergency is more apt to demonstrate clear thinking and also follow properly established procedures and guidelines. So let's just talk about a couple of terms and definitions. Air traffic controllers that work in aircraft in distress need to determine what course of action to take that appears to be best suited to the given circumstances. Air traffic controllers must also take into consideration equipment, communications, other limitations. And there are two emergency situations. They can be either classified as distress or an urgency condition. A distress condition is a condition that where the pilot is threatened by serious or imminent danger, and it requires immediate assistance. And some of these include aircraft fire or smoke in the cockpit, instrumentation failure, structural failure, emitter collision, or engine failure or spatial disorientation. A pilot that is experiencing a distress situation should broadcast the word Mayday, preferably repeated 3 times, and this should get the attention of air traffic control. When a distress situation occurs, a pilot should first direct his attention to flying the airplane. Remember, always first and foremost, fly the airplane, and then attempt to find a suitable airport to divert, and then communicate details of the situation on the radio. An urgency condition is not as serious as a distress condition, but it's a condition where safety and timeliness is important, but immediate assistance is not necessary. Some examples include low fuel, landing gear problems where the landing gear maybe is stuck down, for example, or an alternator failure in visual meteorological conditions. A pilot that is experiencing an urgency condition should broadcast the term pan repeated 3 times on the frequency. Air traffic controllers are required to consider an emergency condition exists if it's declared by the pilot, air traffic control personnel, or the aircraft owner or anyone responsible for the operation of the aircraft. Controllers should also consider that an emergency exists if there's an unexpected loss of radar contact. Reports indicate that the aircraft has made a forced landing. The crew is about to abandon or has abandoned an aircraft, or if they see an emergency transponder code 7700. Radar facilities are equipped so that any emergency beacon code triggers an aural alarm and a visual indicator on the radar scope. Air traffic controllers should also consider that an emergency exists if an intercept or escort aircraft services are required. There is a need for ground rescue, or that seems likely, and an ELT or emergency located transmitter signal is heard or has been reported. The 2 universal worldwide emergency frequencies are VHF 121.5 or UHF 243.0. In civil aircraft, the VHF frequency 121.5 is the most frequently used. While 121.5 and 243.0 are both emergency frequencies, it's best to remain on the frequency with an air traffic controller if you're already talking to air traffic control. There's no need to switch to the emergency frequencies. In addition, the air traffic controller should only change the frequency to the emergency frequency if there's a valid reason for doing so. Now, ELTs, or emergency locator transmitters, are required equipment for most certificated aircraft, and they are battery-operated radio transmitters that emit a distinct tone on emergency frequencies, for example, 121.5. When it's armed, when an ELT is armed and it experiences crash-generated G-forces or impact forces, they're designed to automatically activate and emit the signal on those two frequencies that we mentioned before for at least 48 hours. The newest generation of ELTs transmit a signal on 406 megahertz and can be digitally encoded message containing the owner's information, the aircraft data, and the exact geographic coordinates, which allows for faster location by search and rescue personnel. These ELTs are registered by the owners with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and they're monitored by COSPAS and SARSAT satellite systems. Now, there is a minimum amount of information that's required by our air traffic controller in any kind of an emergency situation, and that includes the aircraft identification and type, nature of the emergency, and the pilot's desires or request. Once the air traffic controller initiates communication with the pilot of an aircraft that is having an emergency, other information should be obtained as necessary, including the aircraft's altitude, fuel remaining, weather that the pilot is experiencing, any pilot capability for IFR flight, time and place, the last known position, heading since the last known position, the airspeed, navigation equipment capability, nav aid, signal reception, visible landmarks, the aircraft's color, the number of people on board, and point of departure and destination, and also any emergency equipment on board. As far as roles and responsibilities are concerned, the pilot in command, or the PIC, is directly responsible and has the final authority for the operation of the aircraft. And in an emergency, the PIC has the authority to deviate from any rule and any regulation to meet the emergency. An air traffic controller in contact with the pilot should handle the emergency along with coordinating with other facilities who can assist. The air traffic controller should only transfer responsibility of the emergency aircraft to another facility if better handling can be provided. Frequency change should only be made for a valid reason, and when the air traffic controller receives information about the emergency, the supervisor should be informed. Air route traffic control centers are responsible for receiving and relaying all information about ELT signals to the appropriate authorities, and terminal facilities will upchannel the ELT signal information to the overlying air route traffic control center for further action. The number of different aircraft distress situations is infinite. They include things like radio failures, bomb threats, hijacked aircraft, manned portable air defense system alerts, unauthorized laser illumination, in-flight equipment malfunctions, aircraft in adverse weather, minimum fuel, and hypoxia. An aircraft that experiences two-way radio failure is expected to squawk 7600 on the transponder. And this will alert air traffic facilities that the aircraft is having problems with its two-way radio communication. An aircraft that squawks 7600 causes RDOF and en route facilities and RF in terminal facilities to appear on the radar scope. So when an aircraft experiences a two-way radio failure, the controller should establish or attempt to establish communications using other methods such as emergency frequencies, nav aids with voice transmission capability, or attempting to relay instructions through other aircraft. If a bomb threat is received from any source, the air traffic controller is required to notify the supervisor or the facility air traffic manager. If a bomb threat is general in nature, it's always handled as suspicious and reported to the appropriate authorities. If a bomb threat is targeted against a specific aircraft, the air traffic control specialist in contact with the aircraft should advise the pilot of the bomb threat and comply with any pilot requests. Inform the pilot that technical assistance can be obtained from the FAA, including an aviation explosive expert, and handle the aircraft as an emergency. Provide the most expeditious handling possible with respect to safety of other aircraft and ground facilities, and also personnel. If the pilot of a targeted aircraft needs technical assistance, air traffic controllers are prohibited from suggesting any actions, but instead should solicit the following information if it's not already known: type, series, and model of the aircraft, the precise location of the aircraft, a description of the explosive device if it's known, and any other details. And this information can be forwarded to the supervisor, to the FAA aviation explosive expert for assessment, and to receive immediate recommendations about actions for the pilot to take. An aircraft that is illuminated by a laser is a very serious situation, and it's also a violation of federal law. High-powered lasers can temporarily blind a pilot, cause the aircrew to take evasive action to avoid the laser, and aircrews consider lasers an in-flight emergency. When a laser illumination is reported, air traffic control is required to broadcast a caution every 5 minutes for 20 minutes following the last report. And also, they're required to include unauthorized laser illumination of aircraft on the ATIS broadcast for 1 hour following the last report. The time of the event, along with the location, altitude, color, and direction of the laser should be included. In-flight equipment malfunctions, including complete failure of equipment that may affect flight safety, separation standards, or the ability of the aircraft to proceed under instrument flight rules to navigate in reduced vertical separation minima airspace, all are considered in-flight emergencies. And when a pilot reports an in-flight equipment malfunction, the air traffic controller should request the nature of the malfunction and ask the pilot about any desired special handling and provide maximum assistance. Relay any special handling being provided to other ATC specialists for facilities. Minimum fuel is not considered an aircraft emergency. It indicates that the aircraft has just enough fuel to accept little or no delay when they reach their destination. And again, it's not an emergency. It does not require any kind of special handling. Unlike an emergency fuel situation where the pilot has declared a fuel emergency, minimum fuel does not imply the need for traffic priority. Hypoxia is considered to be an aircraft emergency. Pilots can be incapacitated due to aircraft pressurization failure, or if they're in an unpressurized aircraft, they can be incapacitated by inoperative or malfunctioning supplemental oxygen equipment. The FAA requires the use of supplemental oxygen in unpressurized aircraft for any flight crew member after 30 minutes in flight between the altitudes of 12,500 and 14,000 feet MSL. At aircraft pressure altitudes above 15,000 feet, every occupant, including passengers, are required to be provided with supplemental oxygen. One very well-known hypoxia-related aircraft accident occurred in an aircraft, a Lear 35, occupied by the professional golfer Payne Stewart. The aircraft was carrying Stewart and 5 other people from Orlando to Dallas, but failed to turn west toward their destination over North Florida. Instead, they continued on a straight line until they ran out of fuel over South Dakota. And the NTSB determined that the probable cause was incapacitation of the flight crew members as a result of their failure to receive supplemental oxygen following the loss of cabin pressurization. Well, that's the end of presentation 13 on aircraft emergencies. Next, we'll handle the air traffic control facilities' responsibilities when it concerns search and rescue operations.